The Toronto Maple Leafs signed Jumbo Joe Thornton to a one-year deal worth $700,000. No bonuses, no nothing, but there is a no-move contract in it. The Leafs have been chasing him for a while, haven't they? He's gotten calls not just from Dubas, but from Keefe himself, their coach, also from a handful of the players trying to track the guy there. Now, it's funny because back in 2017, during the Lamoriello-Babcock era, they tried to get him aboard as well at the same time when they were courting Patrick Marleau. Of course, Thornton ended up re-signing with the Sharks. So I wasn't, 100% sure he would sign. I mean, he left for Switzerland recently to practice and play with HC Davos of the Swiss League. That's where his wife is from, and he's played with that team on and off before. And then this just kind of happened today. And he is also from London, Ontario. So he's coming home after a 15 season with the San Jose Sharks and 8 before that with a team that drafted him, the Boston Bruins. Now, he's still a great playmaker. I know he's a little slow, especially at his ripe age when it comes to his skating and stuff. But he's also incredibly vocal on the ice, on that bench, which would be very important during times like in the playoffs or when they're down goals, and in the locker room. And you know what? I hate player interviews for the most part. They're just so mundane and boring, and they say the same old thing over and over again. And you can blame the press for that, asking him those kind of questions, but not with Joe. No. You put a microphone in front of his mouth and, expect gems to fall from the sky. There's one instance after Thomas Hertl scored 4 goals. Was it last year or the year before that? I can't remember. In which he chimed in. And we'll get to that towards the end of this video. Let's quickly, though, look at Thornton's stats for last season. He played 70 games. For a guy who's 41 and had knee issues and stuff, that's pretty good. 7 goals, 31 points, minus 19. Don't forget that their goalies were terrible last season in San Jose, and some of their really good offensive defensemen aren't so good at playing defense. But in 73 games the season before, in 2018-19, he had 16 goals, 51 points, plus 8. In 19 playoff games in that same season, he had 4 goals, 10 points, minus 6, and the list goes on and on. I don't have to read you the rest of his stats. Everyone knows who this guy is, what he can do on the ice, some of the terrific playmaking that he can make happen. He's kind of like an older, much bigger Mitch Marner sort of deal. Maybe that's a bad comparison. But in any case, where do I see him on the lineup? Probably either on centering the third or fourth line, right? If he centers the third line, Kerfoot could be moved to the wing. I could see Nick Robertson on that line as well. Or if he plays the fourth line, I could see Spezza playing the wing and maybe Simmons playing the wing as well. Although that's a very slow skating line. I'm not sure if they do that. But the second power play unit could look Simmons in front of the net, and then you'd have you'd have Thornton, you'd have Spezza, who's a great shot. You'd probably have Nick Robertson as well, who's super fast, great shot as well. And Mikko Lehtinen, don't forget, the KHL Defenseman of the Year, who's also doing fantastically so far this season, by the way. He could be the quarterback on that power play unit. So this is very exciting, isn't it? What this guy brings to the table, even at this ripe old age. Now, with the pandemic, we don't know if there's going to be an 82-game season or a 50-game season. Who knows, right? But there's a good chance that a lot of the games might be condensed because they're trying to finish them not in August right now. So maybe they'll be sitting out veteran players here and there, and you could see players pop back in to the lineup like Peter Engvall, who played fourth line center last season. He sort of took over from Gauthier there. He skates like a gazelle and is a decent playmaker, one of the best in skating out of his own zone as well. I think they have him buried in the minors right now. He's making about $1.25 million or so. And then there's the other KHL where they signed not too long ago, Barabanov. who's a real feisty guy as well. Expect him to pop in and out of the lineup. There's also the player that they received in return for Andreas Johnson, who is, I want to say Joey Anderson. Yeah, 22 years old winger. Maybe he sees some time. He kind of looks like, from what I've read, sort of a Zach Hyman light. I know he himself has mentioned Hyman's name, and that he sees him as the kind of player he'd like to be in coming years. And am I forgetting about anybody here? And there's also some RFAs that they have to sign too. There's two big ones, sort of. Anyways, and they only have just over $1.6 million in cap space left. And the two guys I'm talking about are Ilya Mikheyev, who's got arbitration rights and has a date scheduled. Now, he's 26-year-old, plays both wings, was playing with Marner and Tavares last season. Played really well until he had his wrist lacerated. And then he came back in the playoffs and sort of wasn't the same. So we'll see where that goes. I expect them to re-sign him. And there's Travis Dermott. A lot of mystery and smoke kind of forming around this player. A left shot defenseman, only 23, seems to have a higher ceiling. I would hate to see him go, but they got to figure something out with him. He has no arbitration rights, by the way. Maybe there's still a trade to be made, a player to move out. We'll see how that goes. I will make a combination of videos on each and every NHL team talking about what they've done in NHL free agency, probably starting within the next couple of weeks or so. So look out for that. There you have it. Oh, the little soundbite there that I wanted to mention. I'll give you a little context. This was just after the game in the locker room after Thomas Hertl had scored 4 goals in one game. The press were all surrounding Patrick Marleau and interviewing him. And Joe Thornton, hearing a question to Marleau about Hertl and whether he was showboating after his goals, Thornton chimed in and said, "Shut up. Have you ever played the game?" And then when the press turned his way, he then added, "I'd have my blank out if I scored 4 goals. I'd have my blank out stroking it." I can't wait. I hate those player interviews, but I can't wait for, especially when the Leafs lose, he'll be especially hot under the beard. This is going to be fantastic. I would love to hear from you, Toronto fans, in the comment section below, amongst everyone else there, on where you think he's going to play on the lineup. Do you see him on the second power play unit? What do you think he's going to be like on the ice, in the locker room, that kind of deal? Thank you so much for watching. Please be kind to each other out there, and I'll see you soon.